So many stories to tell, so many good things to say. When Governor Scott Walker announced his proposal, which I'm so glad I had these brilliant speakers before me because they reminded us of neoliberalism and of all of these Thatcherite, Reaganite, and more contemporary line that there is no alternative, right? Thatcher's Tina. There is no alternative to corporate power, to an end to democracy, to an end to economic justice. We must accept corporate domination of everything that we know. They've told us so well about that. Well, Scott Walker brought that home to Wisconsin. And he brought home the fundamental underpinnings of it, which was a proposal to take away the collective bargaining rights of our unions, to break those unions, not merely as the voices of workers in the workplace, but also to break them as a political force arguing for a public sector, for a public space with public education where everyone has a right to services and has a right to knowledge. This was the assault that Governor Walker launched on our state. It is an assault that is being launched on every single state in this nation, and it is being waged at the federal level by Democrats and Republicans. When Governor Walker made this proposal, I was sitting with a friend of mine who's a very senior legislator. I'm a very distinguished pundit. And so we sat together and we spoke the truth that we knew, which was there was nothing we could do about it. Power was going to prevail. Because, of course, we had had an election last November. A Republican governor, a Republican legislature had been elected. There was nothing we could do about it. It was going to happen. It was inevitable. We were smart. My friend's a politician. I'm a journalist. We know what is possible. But someone forgot to tell 50 students at the University of Wisconsin. And the next morning, they went out in front of the university's student union with signs that said, "This shall not pass. This law shall not go into effect." And the next day about 1,000 students gathered and they walked to the Capitol. And the next day, 2,000 students. And the next day, 8,000 students and people from the community. People from the community who knew it wasn't possible, but said, well, if the kids are out, I guess we'll go with them. And the next morning, that night actually, the teachers of Madison, my hometown, my 7-year-old's first grade teacher, walked off the job and said, we have an educational responsibility. We must go to the Capitol and educate our legislators about the necessity of public education. And 6,000 teachers in their fellow. As I went to cover that demonstration, I'm driving up the street in Madison going, oh, isn't this lovely? Isn't this interesting? Why? It's a little hard to get. I have a traffic problem here. I am concerned. I'm not moving as freely down this wide open boulevard as I should. What's slowing me down? And up ahead of me were 2,000 students from East High School, my mother's alma mater, walking 3 miles up the street to stand in solidarity with their teachers. Thousands of students who didn't take the day off, they went with their teachers. And the next day, 30,000 people. And the next day, 40,000. And the next day, 50,000. The Reverend Jesse Jackson standing outside saying, this is a King moment. This is a Gandhi moment. And inside the Capitol, Democratic legislators, weak, imperfect, believe me, I cover these people. Not heroes. But they had a moment, an incredible moment, where they looked out the window and they saw 50,000 people outside, and they had to ask a fundamental question. Do we remain cogs in the machine of corporate power, or do we pull ourselves out of that machine, walk out of the Capitol, and deny the Republicans the quorum they need to pass this bill, and the Democratic members of the Wisconsin State Senate, not because they were courageous, but because they were scared of the tens of thousands in the street. They walked out of the Capitol, and they denied the Republicans the quorum. Let me tell you, folks, we're talking about a politics of solidarity. We always think solidarity is a nice thing, that somebody does it out of the warmth of their heart. You know, there's a solidarity based in fear if you're not acting in solidarity that also has power, and that's what happened with those Democrats. I'm going to close off here, though, with a notion of something that's I think very important, because some people think that in a moment like this, we're supposed to come away with all sorts of complex lessons. Oh, every time people ask me, everybody asks me in the street, what's the end game? What's the end game? I always have a simple answer. The end game is we win. But the question is, how do we get there? Well, here's my answer, and it goes to the theme of this conference that we have been at, that all of you people, so many people in this room have contributed so mightily to. Here's the answer. The end game is solidarity. The end game is that act of unity with others. And I'll tell you two very quick, I promise, Rod, I'm not going to go on. I'm going to tell you two quick stories here. Number one, when the students and their allies, many of them influenced by the Seattle protests of 1999, chanting that slogan from Seattle, "This is what democracy looks like," occupied the Capitol. Thousands of people sleeping through the night in the capital of Wisconsin trying to delay the passage of this bill. When they did that, the governor went hysterical. He ordered them out. He ordered the police to remove them. He ordered all sorts of actions to get them out of there. And the police, trade unionists, I might add, kept saying, our job is to protect physical safety of our community, but it is also to protect the rights of people to dissent. And the police did not remove the protesters from the Capitol. And when there was a rumor that the governor was going to hire private security forces to remove the students from the Capitol, the Dane County Sheriff's deputies, police officers, uniformed police officers, marched into the Capitol at 7 at night with their sleeping bags, and they slept through the night in solidarity with those protesters. So crazy that he and his allies finally forced that bill through. They broke the law. They broke the open meetings laws. They violated the Constitution. They forced that bill through. And you know what happened? The next day, the New York Times, America's paper of record, reported that the fight in Wisconsin was over. It was done. The good guys had lost. We always lose. But somebody forgot to tell the people of Wisconsin. And last Saturday morning, at about 9 o'clock, my daughter Whitman, who was 7, and I went down about 4 miles south of town. And we joined my friends Joel Brino and Tony Schultz, farmers from out in western Wisconsin, and a lot of other farmers from around the state. One guy who had ridden his tractor for 7 hours since 3 a.m. to get there. We gathered with the tractors, and we began rolling into downtown Madison. We did not know what we would see. But the farmers had come to stand in solidarity with the workers. And these tractors rolled into town. We first saw a few people, a handful here or 4 or 5 there. Little children with signs saying, "Thank you, farmers. Thank you for coming." And we rolled into the downtown. And as we got closer, cars slowed down and formed a corridor along to make sure that we were safe, that the tractors weren't driven to the side, that they could go through the lights and make it into downtown. We rolled, by the time we got near downtown, there were thousands of people along the street. And as we came up that hill toward the capital of Wisconsin, 150,000 people had gathered in the streets to welcome the farmers and to welcome the workers of Wisconsin and to say, "We're sorry, New York Times. This struggle isn't over. We are coming back again and again and again and again. And we know that they will tell us that we must wait till the next election to make democracy real. But we recognize the wisdom of that First Amendment to our Constitution. It doesn't talk about elections. It doesn't even mention corporations. What it says is that you have a right to speech. You have a right to freedom of the press. And the most powerful right, our most forgotten right, we have a right to assemble and to petition for the redress of grievances. And I'm going to tell you this, there's only one lesson to take from Wisconsin. When they come for your rights, when they come for your unions, when they come for your possibility of economic justice and a just society, do not let anyone tell you to wait till the next election. Go